Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the Cortez City Council. This is our regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, September 14, 2021, and 7:30 p.m. Could you please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The listing under consent agenda is a group of items to be acted on with a single motion and vote. The agenda is designed to expedite the handling of limited routine matters by City Council. Either the public or a City Council member may request that an item be removed from the consent agenda prior to Council's vote. The mayor will ask if a citizen or council member wishes to have any specific item removed from the consent agenda for discussion. First item is approval of the work session and regular meeting minutes of August 24th, 2021. B, approval of the expenditure vouchers of September 14th, 2021. C, approval of renewal fermented malt beverage off-premises liquor license for Good To Go Stores, LLC, DBA Good To Go, located at 302 West Main Street, Cortez. D, approval of renewal fermented malt beverage off-premises liquor license for Good To Go Stores, LLC, DBA Good To Go, located at 717 South Broadway, Cortez. E, approval of renewal brew pub liquor license for Wild Edge Brewing Collective, LLC, DBA Wild Edge Brewing Collective, located at 111 North Market Street, Cortez. And F, approval of renewal brew pub liquor license for L&D Development Incorporated, DBA J. Fargo's, located at 1209 East Main Street, Cortez.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye. Thank you. I see that we have one of our county commissioners, Kent Lindsay, in the audience tonight. Good evening, Kent. Would you like to come up and speak to us? Do you have anything to say? Okay. Make sure mic is on, the green light's on, and speak into the mic.
There we go.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. We had a county commissioner meeting today, and just to go over one of the highlights that we did, you just heard from a lady expounding the great glories of 30 by 30. Montezuma County adopted a resolution today opposing the 30 by 30 land preservation goal. And this is the first I've heard any mention of water inside some of this, but it goes along with the land, I guess. Some of the comments that I was listening to, the federal government owns 72% of the land in Montezuma County. And it's administered by the Park Service, United States Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, Bureau of Indian Affairs, and they're responsible for managing 948,825 acres of land. And that doesn't include the 7%, which equals 23,109 acres of privately owned land that is under perpetual conservation easements. Now, these easements are between willing buyer and willing seller, which usually takes them out of being able to be developed in any other form than what they were on the land. It's happened to some farmland, and it's for tax purposes, a lot of it. And a lot of farmers want to make sure that their land is kept in farmland for perpetuity. Also, going down some of her list, and I will Rachel is going to supply Linda and staff with a copy of the resolution so you all have it. And it's a rather lengthy resolution that we threw the kitchen sink at. But designating lands as wilderness does not assure its preservation. Left in an undisturbed natural state, these lands are highly susceptible to wildland wildfires, as you've seen recently. Also, insect infestation, as you see basically in our forests and especially up around Wolf Creek Pass. The 30 by 30 project is not nationwide. It's in the western United States only, coming from the border of Mexico, clear up through and inclusive of Wyoming and clear up into Alaska, to preserve 30% of all lands in the western United States. And there is no proportion to lands east of the Mississippi. If you look at the BLM maps, you'll see that the western United States is pretty well protected under those BLM lands to the point of at least 50% and above. You look at the eastern United States, and it's less than 1% that they're responsible for protecting. Basically, it's mostly under private ownership back there. She mentioned PILT funds, payment in lieu of taxes. We've had to fight for every scrap of tax dollar coming from the federal government in those forms of monies, and they're usually at about 10% of what we would normally collect if those lands were in private hands. And I can keep going and going and going and make this evening very long, but our ask is, please don't support this. We just ask that you let us do our job, and we are definitely protecting Montezuma County and the interests of all the municipalities. And eventually, I don't think you would want to give up 30% of the city's land. It's not coming to that. It's not in this. But just think about giving up the city of Cortez. What part of the city of Cortez would you give up? What, 30%? Think of you won't have a room big enough to put the people in here when that fight starts. So, I mean, other than that and all the dire stuff that comes along with it, we did also at the commission today look at and schedule a meeting with another fight we're going to have, and that's an NCA in the Dolores River Valley coming up on Thursday. They're supposed to release some of the wording from Senator Bennett's office. So we'll try and keep you informed on that. Otherwise, thank you very much and have a good evening. Arlena.
Ask a real quick question.
Sure.
I heard a comment last night at the Dolores Town Board meeting that Gwen had not even approached you guys to talk about this 30 by 30. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You guys have not had a conversation?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Bet.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. I'd like to make an announcement. So we have a long agenda tonight, and so as usual, we'll limit our participation to 6 citizens to address the City Council. No member of the public shall comment more than once at any meeting, nor shall any person be seated at the time of another commenter. Comments may be limited 4 minutes per person. Please comment on items not listed on public hearing. Council may or may not respond to comments. I'd just like to ask you if people have similar topics, if you could have a spokesperson for that topic, like the 30 by 30 initiative. I just asked you maybe have one spokesperson speak for the group. So that's how it's going to go. The first person, Susan, go ahead. Just state your name and address, please, and speak into the microphone.
Good evening. Susan Chemnitz, 511 South Cedar Street. At the last meeting, the City Council appointed Lance McDaniels to the Board of Adjustments and Appeals, as he is also on Planning and Zoning along with another member, Rebecca Levi. This clearly seems to me to be a conflict of interest. Imagine if you take a proposal to P&Z and it gets rejected, and you decide to appeal the decision. Much to your chagrin, the same people who advised P&Z to reject your proposal are now advising how the appeal is handled. This is not representative government with its checks and balances that assure citizens are treated fairly and aren't subject to the whims of one or two bureaucrats. I would think that this could set the city up for some kind of lawsuits. And even if it's not, it just seems unethical to me. Shame on you.
Mindy Nelson wrote in, I'm here to talk about what a true Trojan horse Gwen Letkelt really is. I know because I watched what she did, and I could do nothing about it in La Plata County. She is the founder of San Juan Citizens Alliance, Western Leaders Network, the Bear Smart Environmental Groups, and not sure what else. Ask Gwen Letkelt about the comprehensive plan that was killed in La Plata County in 2014. Then waited for everyone to go back to sleep, then silently passed it in 2017. Ask her about the Climate Energy Action Plan that was killed in 2014, then played it out through the city of Durango and even bought a climate control radar dish in 2018 with taxpayers' money. Leaving property taxpayers on the hook? Ask Letkelt how she put taxpayers on the hook when they passed the land use code that was tabled, then fired the consultant firm Kindred Keystone Collaborative that worked under the United Nations. Ask Letkelt about the 1041 powers in La Plata County where people picketed the streets and over 200 people showed up at both meetings opposing this overreach and still passed it. Ask her about what real estate she owns in La Plata County. 0. Ask her about her going to D.C. and lobbying for Western Leaders Network on La Plata's dime and got caught. La Plata County recalled her and lost by 36 signatures because billionaire Tom Steyer donated $10,000 to pay people to sign a petition wrong. She also paid a lawyer to look over the count on the signatures to be sure every dotted I and crossed T. Please, for the sake of the taxpayer of rural Cortez, do not consider this land grab. She is trying to push for the sake of her good friends of the non-government organizations to line their pockets and ruin what we call home. The word permanent preservation means strictly protected, which gives the government complete control. We can't allow this to happen. This is a huge land grab. In the West, we feel the devastating effects of one misguided, half-baked government program after another. Rather than relying on farmers, ranchers, outdoorsmen, lumberjacks, surveyors, oil workers, miners, community leaders who have decades of land experience, government policymakers turn to 25-year-old with master degrees in ecology and political science to run the county's public land policy. Growing crops, harvesting timber, and extracting minerals and energy essentials, but somehow they are entrusted in the to govern rural America. Ask Letkelt about the battle La Plata County went through with the mineral extraction, the water plan with the new land use codes because she, as a leader, didn't follow proper procedure. By the way, they are also concerned about wildlife. What about the introduction of wolves in the area to kill all the babies? Oh yeah, that's climate change. Private lands are not exempt from this initiative. Hundreds of millions of additional acres currently managed for multiple use and economic development threatened by this land grab. The federal government already manages 640 million acres of land, the vast majority of which is in the West. More than 750 million acres of federal waters are already locked up with unilateral destinations under the Inequities Act. But that's not good enough for the extremist environmentalists pushing the 30 by 30 land grab who claim an additional 680 million acres of additional land and water must be put under government control and elevated to more extreme status that prevents the that prevents the use of these lands. Mind you, 72% of Montezuma is already being managed. Please consider extracting this from your plans. Dolores and Montezuma has, and they should not be able to bring the top-down overreach here in our rural area. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Next speaker, please. Go up to the microphone and state your name and address, please.
Before you start the clock on me, with all due respect, Mayor, please don't limit the people to what they want to say. We have the freedom of speech. If they all want to talk about the same topic, that is their right.
Okay.
My name is Sherry Simmons. I live in Lewis, Colorado. I want to start my time with prayer. Almighty, holy God, thank you for our freedom to gather here tonight. We invite you in, Father, to guide us and empower us. Shine your light into the darkness and give evil no place to hide. We thank you for your word and for your promises. We thank you that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. We thank you for our Lord Jesus, for he has overcome the world. We pray for salvation for those who do not know you. In the mighty name of Jesus, Christ our King, amen. Take no part in unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. Ephesians 5:11. City council members, you continue to ignore the people. The people have spoken, this is no secret. You know what's going on. The people spoke out against the 30 by 30, the land and water grab. Our commissioners listened to us. They wrote a resolution. But here we are with you. You're not only ignoring the people, but you bring in an outsider to try and sway. There's so many reasons this is horrible and dangerous, and I'm sure you're about to hear a whole lot about it, about the people who are going to suffer the most from it. You need to stop ignoring the people's voice. Stop hammering this town with liberal, progressive ideologies. Stop pushing your own ideas in front of and over the people. You're elected to work for the people, not for yourself and whoever may be padding someone's wallet. You may fool some of us, but not all of us. You've crossed the line. You have ignored your oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States many times. We've had enough. Perhaps it's time to step down and move somewhere that has already been destroyed by the tyrannical, liberal, self-indulging government. We the people are watching, we're tired, and most of all, God is watching.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons. Please hold the applause. Thank you. Next speaker, please. Go up to the podium and state your name and address.
Sean Randolph, 13348, Highway 145.
Could you repeat that slower?
13348, Highway 145.
Okay,
Sean
thank
Randolph.
you. Okay, got it.
Well, the thing is, it's kind of funny, you're preaching to the choir. They're talking about stewardship, and there's no greater stewards to this land than the farmers and ranchers that are here trying to defend their land. And the water is a big issue around here, and as big a drought as she said, in summer that we had, we saw 2 cuttings of hay. So, I mean, all the water that got sold off at the end of last year, and all of the continual undermining of what the people say, and all the funding for everything that the government does comes from the people. So their words should have some kind of impact. It should have some kind of meaning. And I think that they're being overlooked and misinterpreted. And that's all I got.
Thank you. Could we have another speaker, please? Go up to the podium if you want to say something and state your name and address, please.
Jeff Coulon, Highway 160. If you guys want to vote on this, I think what you need to do is take and map out your area that you live in, you own in town. You're going to take 30% of that and give it to the government. You take your water meter from last year, you're going to cut that 30%, give that to the government. That's what you guys are looking at, asking us as rural people to do. This don't affect you people in the city. It affects us out in the country. We don't need it. We already give enough. I don't know why they come to you people to get you to vote for this. It has nothing to do with the city. It's the rule that they're after. Maybe you want to give up 30% of the golf course, maybe 30% of the parks. I don't know. But for you guys to vote on this is ridiculous. It shouldn't even be looked at by the city. It's up to our county to take care of us. Food for thought.
Thank you, sir. We have time for one more speaker. Okay, go up to the podium and state your name and address, please.
This one?
Either one.
Melissa Samora Applet, 13133 Road 21.7, Cortez. I didn't plan to speak, but I came because of the land and what was going on. My grandkids is the 6th generation to live on our land. So it's very, very important to us, and we've worked really hard for it. I just really think the commissioners, the county commissioners should have took this on, not you guys. But I say no.
Thank you very much. There are no presentations tonight. We have a proclamation, the National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Arlena, would you please read that proclamation?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and I just want to preface this with saying a big thank you to City Manager Sanders, to Linda Smith, and to John Brooks for helping me get this into the packet and supporting having an event happening in Cortez on Friday, which I'll talk about after this. So, proclamation. September as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Whereas the month of September is recognized as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month and World Suicide Prevention Day is observed each year on September 10th, and whereas these observances are united in raising awareness that prevention is possible, treatment is effective, and people do recover, and whereas suicidal thoughts can affect anyone regardless of age, gender, race, orientation, income level, religion, or background. And whereas, according to the Centers for Disease Control, each year more than 48,000 people die by suicide. And according to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, suicide is the second leading cause of death for people 10 to 34 years of age, the fourth leading cause for those 35 to 54 years of age, and the eighth leading cause among people 55 to 64 years of age. And whereas each and every suicide directly impacts a minimum of 100 individuals, including family, friends, coworkers, neighbors, and community members. And whereas the effects of the loss of these lives severely impacts smaller rural communities. And whereas the city of Cortez encourages all citizens to do their part by taking a free question, persuade, refer, QPR, gatekeeper training that are offered in our community to learn how to ask if someone they know is considering suicide and how to connect them with help. And whereas the City of Cortez also encourages all citizens to keep on hand the Colorado State Crisis Line, which is 1-844-493-8255, and our local Access Care line, which is 970-247-5245, in the event that they or someone they care about is experiencing a crisis, so that they may be connected with trained crisis professionals. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Michael J. Levy, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2021 as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month in the City of Cortez. Dated this 14th day of September 2021, Michael J. Levy, Mayor.
Thank you, Arlena.
Can I say just a few more words?
Yes,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I just wanted to acknowledge and say thank you to the other municipalities that have also, and the county that have also passed this proclamation and have been in support of recognizing September as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And just for folks here, if you want to attend, We have been doing ribbon events. We started on Monday with at the Lewis Areola Community Center, but we do have a ribbon event happening tomorrow evening from 5:30 to 6:30 in Mancus at Boyle Park. We are just putting up the ribbons for Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, which are purple and blue, and we're putting up messaging, and we're giving out resources to folks that come and attend. We will have snacks, and there will be an event for Cortez at Montezuma Park. We will be putting ribbons down Montezuma Avenue, and that will be from 5:30 to 6:30 as well. So please feel free to stop by and put up a ribbon if you would like. Thank you.
Thank you, Arlena. Okay. Thank you, Susan. Next item is public hearings. First item is a quasi-judicial item. City Council sits as a quasi-judicial body, and the City Council is restricted to make its findings of facts on evidence presented to them at the hearing. No member of the City Council should receive or solicit comments from any person regarding a matter pending before the City Council prior to the formal hearing itself. If anyone has had any contact on this matter, please advise council and consider recusing yourself. Seeing none, the first item is the approval of a new retail marijuana cultivation facility for THA Corporation, DBA, the Herbal Alternative. City Clerk Linda Smith, City Attorney Mike Green, please. Good evening.
Good evening, folks. This application is similar to two that council has already approved, one for chronic therapy and one for the Doobie Sisters, and I don't remember the name of the LLC that's ownership. But it's essentially to approve two buildings on the same piece of real estate, one for cultivation, one for sales or other activities. This property is all owned by the Sanchez's at 10194 Highway 491, Colorado. It also goes all the way up into near the shooting club. That's a large chunk of land, and so they're proposing to put a grow facility down closer to the highway. What staff and myself have done is we have followed the ordinance, and staff has reviewed the application. It is complete and signed by the applicant, and I believe copies are in your file. The applicant has paid the application fee. We've determined that the application does comply with all the requirements of the Colorado Retail Marijuana Code, the State Licensing Authority rules, and the City of Cortez ordinance. The application does not contain any material misrepresentations. The proposed retail marijuana cultivation establishment complies with all the applicable zoning regulations, and it does conform and meet with the distance requirements that have been set forth, because this is a complex owned by the same company on the same piece of property. So it's not like having two separate locations. It's all in one location. The investigation into this matter did not find any other facts or any other pertinent matters affecting the qualification of the applicant or the conduct of the business proposed. These folks have been in business here in Cortez for a while. They've had some minor infractions. We've worked through them. There's no reason or anything sufficient enough to say that no, they shouldn't be granted this license. The other facts pertinent to the type of license approval for which application has been made, including the number, type, availability of retail marijuana outlets located in or near the premises under consideration. The nearest one, in my memory serves, would be the Doobie Sisters, which is just down the road. But these fellows, this placement is off, if you will, to one side. They are current in all of their taxes, fees, sales tax assessments, or they don't owe the city any money, is in essence what that last one is. Staff has no reason for good cause to share with you for you to deny this application. Staff has no recommendation regarding reasonable conditions for approval of this license, to the best of my knowledge. They do not own any more than one establishment within the city. They are simply having a separate building to grow for their retail sales outlet. Like I say, this is similar to the other two that have already been approved. And then after you open the matter to public hearing, staff would be recommending that you approve the application, grant the cultivation license, and make the findings that have been submitted to you as part of the process. The only other thing that I need to go over, just to remind everybody, at the public hearing, only parties of interest are allowed to present evidence, and they can actually cross-examine other witnesses. What this means is the clerk will swear anybody in when they come up to speak. Party in interest under our ordinances is the applicant, an adult resident of the neighborhood under consideration, the owner or manager of a business located in the neighborhood under consideration, and an owner of real property located in the neighborhood. And my memory serves, the neighborhood is the whole city of Cortez.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Any questions or comments from council? Do I have a motion on this item?
We need to, just to open it up for a public hearing.
This is open for public comment. Are there any in the audience that wish to speak on this? Seeing none, could I have a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve the application for THA Corp. DBA, the herbal alternative for retail marijuana cultivation license.
And to adopt the findings submitted in the resolution.
And to adopt the findings of what? Submitted in the resolution.
Second.
Second.
Yazzie,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
Dobry,
Aye.
Lucero,
Aye.
Medina,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Levy.
Aye. Thank you. Next item under new business. 2 out-of-city water taps and pre-annexation agreements for Rich McDonald, Director of Public Works. Phil Johnson, please. Good evening, Phil.
Honorable Mayor and members of City Council, good evening. We've done this several times this year, bringing forward out-of-city water taps. There is a differentiation with these two, is that they are pre-existing. They pre-exist the pre-annexation agreement issues that now are associated with out-of-city water taps. Why these are in front of you is because there was a subdivision created on this big parcel. It was 52 acres at one point, and then a subdivision occurred, and they're assigning these 2 taps to 2 newly created lots. They're not going to impact production, as they've already been pre-existing. One of the lots is going to be at 12107 Highway 145, and the other lot is actually to be determined on Road M, and that is because the subdivision applicant has yet to get an address assigned to it, because they're going to be getting access for the subdivision from County Road M. So really, that's all there is. This is nothing new. It's not going to impact, our water supply or any of that, because they're already pre-existing. This is just to clean it up and bring it up to speed with other out-of-city water tap applications now that it's falling under the pre-application agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions or comments from council? Could I have a motion on this item, please?
Make a motion approving the two out-of-city water taps pre-annex agreement with Rich McDonald for property located at 12107 Highway 145. Cortez, with the stipulation that the applicant install an approved backflow prevention device on each water tap.
Second.
Dobry,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
Lucero,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Yazzie,
Aye.
Medina,
Aye.
Levy.
Aye. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Resolution Number 22, Series 2021. City Attorney Mike Green, please. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening again. This one is, at the request of certain staff, we're asking you to adopt a policy. Primarily, it focuses on getting to members of boards and commissions, how they get appointed, so it's similar for all the different boards and commissions. And basically what we've attached is a packet of information that they would be getting, that they would be signing, and everyone would be getting the same or similar information. It differs slightly from volunteers in that the charter calls members of boards and commissions officials. Everybody else is an employee. And so volunteers are another special group that go through a similar process, which is an application, signature of certain documents. Everybody gets a background, or everybody gets, I guess we call it a contingent approval or offer to be on the board, sort of like we do with employees, pending successful completion of a background check. And I believe that's how you appointed the last board member to the, I call it the appeals court from P&Z, but I think that's how you did that. It was contingent upon passing a background check. And so we're just putting this down on paper so staff knows this is how we're doing it.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Any questions or comments from the council? Could I have a motion on
Got one
this item?
question real quick. So what you're saying, the background check will be done first before appointing?
Right now, the way it is set up, background checks are done after you appoint someone. Their appointment is contingent upon, just like hiring, we hire employees contingent upon passing a background check. So the system is now uniform all the way across, so somebody doesn't have to scratch their head and go, what am I doing? It's all the same. This is going to be primarily a function of human resources, so it makes things simpler for them to get the background checks done, and we go from there. If you wanted to change it, it would be your option, but recommendation is let's be consistent across the board, fewer mistakes.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Could I have a motion on this item, please?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 22, series 2021, adopting a volunteer and members of boards and commissions appointment policy for the city of Cortez.
Second.
Rainey,
Aye.
Lucero,
Aye.
Medina,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
Yazzie,
Aye.
Dobry,
Aye.
Levy.
Aye. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is resolution number 23, series 2021. City Clerk Linda Smith.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Included in your packet is resolution number 23, series 2021. It includes the reorder of the items of council's agenda, how we've set the different ways that the items appear before you. We have changed that, and we wanted to make sure that we approved the order so that we can get that in our new agenda program that we're getting ready to complete. And so that's what this resolution does, is just set that order. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions or comments? Okay, could I have a motion on this item, please?
Mr. Mayor, I I move that council approve resolution number 23, series 2021, establishing the order of business for the City of Cortez council meetings.
Second.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Next item is a recruitment process for open director positions. City Manager Drew Sanders, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm coming to you to make a request to support my decision to hire Columbia LTD to go through 2 director position processes and handle those processes for us. You should have a memo in front of you that explains the process a little more in depth, but I will say that most of you have already been involved with Drew Gorgay, who runs that company, and he was part of the city manager recruitment where I was hired. So he's a known quantity, and we have the ability to get him fairly quick, and his talents and ability to reach further out than we can to get the right candidates is seemingly very important. So I'm requesting a motion of support from council to allow me to do that. And these are already pre-budgeted funds.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
No, he answered the question I had about the funds.
Go ahead.
Oh, he already did, so, thank you.
I think Drew Gorgay did a great job last time when we were looking for a city manager. I thought his vetting process was extremely thorough, and I'm pleased with the result that we got in Drew. So I definitely support this. Motion. I'd like to approve the request to hire Columbia Limited to perform the executive search to identify directors for both Public Works and Parks and Recreation Department.
Second.
Dobry.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is resolution number 24, series 2021. City Attorney Mike Green.
Good evening again. This resolution is to approve a disclosure letter and municipal advisor agreement with David Bell of RBC Capital Markets about the issuance of obligations, broadband, and should say instead of Broadway utility bonds for the Cortez Community Network, CCN. As you folks remember, we had an election where the voters approved the city or authorized the city to expand its services in this area. In order to come back to you with information for you to consider whether this is feasible or not, we have been looking at different options, and the one that has come up that seems to be the most productive is for the city to proceed to get firm costs, firm prices for things, and then look at the cost of running a broadband network in the city to the size and extent we want to, as several of you have asked or directed staff, make sure this thing cash flows, make sure this thing works, and then getting an idea of what it's going to cost and how that's all going to work. We have a bond attorney who has been advising us when necessary about how that part would work. And as you're aware, cities finance things with bonds, not deeds of trust or promissory notes, etc. And so what this gentleman would do is make sure that the financial part of the transaction is not only doable, but is in order. In other words, we would, he's indicated that he can help us get this thing set up financially as an enterprise so that it gives us information that works. He can tell us, quite honestly, whether the people that are interested in lending you money is the best deal or somebody else is a better deal. And so this is becoming a more critical part of looking at whether we should proceed forward or not. And so after staff going over this, we would recommend that you approve the signing of the resolution that allows the mayor to sign the disclosure letter and the municipal advisory agreement. And these folks only get paid, he and the bond attorney, if we issue bonds, and then they're paid out of the bond amounts. So this doesn't, yes, everything costs the city money, but we don't have to come up cash up front or get a bill from him every month. And so he has some experience with fiber broadband systems, and he comes highly recommended from the bond attorney and some of the other folks we've been working with.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
So if he does the advice on how much it's going to cost and everything, and council says no, so he did everything for free, is that correct?
That's my understanding of reading the agreement, sir. If we don't borrow the money and get bonds.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, if you do it a different way, no, he's not going to get paid, but if you don't do bonds, he doesn't get paid.
Any other questions, comments? We have a motion on this item.
And I guess based on that question, and he also said that he would tell us whether this was doable or a smart move to do. He's not committed to doing this project. He's committed to saying, okay, it's going to cost X, which means you're going to have to cash flow Y, which means, okay, you can do this, or whoa, you guys can't even come close. And so that's where he comes in and why he's so important. He's going to be able to answer your questions, Orly, as to how this thing's going to work.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Could I have a motion on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion approving resolution number 24, series 2021, approving a disclosure letter and municipal advisor agreement with David Bell, RBC Capital Markets LLC, regarding the issuance of obligations broadband utility bonds for the Cortez Community Network.
Second.
Medina.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
It's okay. Levy.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye. Okay. Got all the counts down? Okay. Next item on the agenda is airport logo and branding. Airport Manager Jeremy Patton. Good evening, Jeremy.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, residents. So tonight I come before you just to request approval of a logo for the airport, which is kind of the first attempt at doing so. The purpose of this, a little background: the airport's currently undergoing a master plan, and that's going to outlay our 10-year layout plan. And then we're also going out this week for our on-call engineers. And a lot of the discussion that comes up is kind of putting a new image on the airport as we move forward. This will affect our marketing plan from here on out, which I plan to do next year. It will affect some of the budget in regards to, uniform items, merchandise items that we potentially might have at events, and just getting that image out to the community a little bit better for the airport. This image will represent the heritage and the path that aviation facilitates, which is upward movement. And the PowerPoint presentation that I gave you guys, as well as the memo, describes some of the factors that I've put into the logo that I'm proposing. And if you look at the application of aviation logos, there's several that I included that incorporate vintage markers, which are obviously, aviation related, aerospace, military, the squadron logo in there, Rolls-Royce engines, which, is a car manufacturer. They also are involved heavily in aviation. SpaceX, which is a conglomerate of private and federal. They work with NASA. So there's a lot of logos that are designed to incorporate collaboration. And so I think the community would benefit from an airport that represents itself in a new brand and incorporate aviation into it. Airport-specific logos, on that page you see Scottsdale, El Paso, Fresno, Malaysia, San Luis Valley over in Alamosa, Central Colorado, we got San Antonio on there. You see all these elements that incorporate the terrain of the local area as well as the aircraft or aviation in some facet or another. The 3 Cortez logos that were kind of developed, and this is within airport staff and then shared with the city staff as well for input, were illustrated in the slides. And then from that, we kind of put together the final preferred logo, which if you look at the details, incorporate the city's logo with the mesas, as they're also the wings that represent the wings coming off of the runway and the wind sweeps similar to the Cortez logo coming off Mesa Verde. And then obviously the name is professionally done, Cortez Municipal. The elevation, which is important for aviation navigation and performance aircraft. So this logo again would be incorporated into our uniform items, baseball caps, things like that. Fiscally, there's no impact for the logo itself. This is developed in-house and approved, and there's no legal constraints with it, no copyright issues. And then next year we've budgeted, which I'll present this weekend in our budget proposals, to put it in print and put it embroidered in our items. So airport staff, based on all that, airport staff is recommending that council approve the preferred logo to represent the aviation heritage for Cortez Municipal Airport.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, can I chime in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you again for sending the logos over, because they got washed out on the packet. I just looking at it again, I didn't realize that it was the mesas, but now that you said it, I can see it.
Right.
The only thing I'm thinking about is it's this big now, and when you shrink it down, I wonder how the thin lines of the runway are going to show up, as logos this big.
Right.
So that's just my only comment, but I really like what's been done.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we'll work on the vectors, so when they incorporate it, depending on the size and applications, whether it's embroidered, whether it's screen print, whether it's business cards, what have you, we'll adjust the vector as needed.
Jeremy, I just want to say how really impressed I am with all the stuff you're doing with the airport, and I'm just really glad you're on our team. So thanks for.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll concur with that. I think this is great that you're thinking about the branding of the airport and how we can position ourselves so people can actually recognize us.
Right.
So thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. I really like that logo. That's one I would have picked too.
I appreciate it.
It stands out and represents Cortez. It's a good choice.
Appreciate it, Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I was going to
Just one, Jeremy, and I second what they've all said. Welcome, and I think you're doing a good job. I think all the designs are very nice. I do have one thought in that possibly the propeller might date the airport instead of having jets come in.
As far as the propeller representing the airport?
Yes.
So, I mean, yeah, it's like I said, it's the heritage of aviation. It's kind of the foundations of where aviation comes from. If we can adapt this. So maybe we run this logo for a while, for several years, and then we kind of update it as we move forward. I mean, that's a possibility as well, to kind of represent the modern technology.
I'm just looking at it from the viewpoint of someone who might see it and respond to it. That's all.
Right, I got you.
Yeah.
Has there been any focus group trial with this logo, outside of city staff? Would any of your customers be willing to take a look and provide their feedback on it?
Yeah,
Something like that.
we talked about it with the, like our master planning consultants, we ran it by them, and there was a lot of good feedback from that as far as, what they deal with in other airports, and some very large, some very, smaller than us, that these logos are well perceived in the public, and that's kind of the idea, is just to give the airport a little more image and representation. And as we do more events, we've got the first flying coming up on the 25th, and then, as the years, as we move forward, having that every year, the goal is to facilitate fundraising. We can maybe raise scholarships for students to get into flying, and so this image will be, put on decals, and maybe hopefully it's a sense of pride in the airport moving forward.
Did you draw this?
I put it together on a website. They allow you to change vectors and incorporate different items into it and adjust it. And then we ran it through a few members in the city to kind of give feedback on maybe changing the font a little bit, or colors, things like that. So.
Okay, I was just curious if it's hand drawn or if it.
No, not that artistic.
I was going to say, where did you learn?
Right?
No, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Looks good to me.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Can I have a motion on this item, please?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve and integrate a new airport logo.
Second.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, have a good night.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
The next item on the agenda is renewal of professional services contract with Douglas Roth, DBA, Cortez GIS Services, Director of Public Works, Phil Johnson, and Rachel Medina will recuse herself from this agenda item.
Yeah, I just want to be transparent. Doug Roth is my supervisor at my daytime job, so I'm going to recuse myself. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, good evening
Mr. Johnson.
again. Good evening.
Good evening.
Obviously, you see the memo before you outlining the length of service that Mr. Roth has done for us. He started contracting with us in 2014, and that's when I began here. What is unique about this and really beneficial for the city is that we get almost full service GIS activities with only 2 5-hour working days a week, as well as tapping into the county GIS information, because Doug does the county GIS work as well. So it benefits both organizations. In my tenure, under his professional services agreement, he's only asked for 1 rate increase, and that was, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. He hasn't asked for one this year. He's done a wonderful job. He interacts with all of the departments within the city extremely well, generating visuals, maps, as well as for our constituents and residents in the city, asking for the same. So having said that, the professional services agreement is intact. His insurance requirements are up to speed and as a part of the attachments, and I would recommend that we re-engage Mr. Roth until August of 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions or comments?
No, I haven't.
I have a
Mr.
motion on
Mayor,
this item?
Mr. Mayor,
go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the renewal of the professional services contract with Douglas Roth, DBA, Cortez GIS Services, for City of Cortez GIS Services to be effective September 1st, 2021 through August 31st, 2022.
Second.
Lucero.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Okay. We'll wait for Rachel to be seated. Okay. Are there any city manager reports? city attorney reports? Yes, sir. Okay, go ahead.
You know, this can get me. Councilwoman Yazzie asked me to update you folks with the latest Open Meetings Act changes. And what it does is it clarifies councilpersons, members' use of electronic communications. And it essentially allows electronic mail communication between elected officials that does not relate to the merits or substance of pending litigation or other public business. Now, it would allow you to electronically communicate regarding scheduling and availability, or if an elected official was forwarding information about something. If you are responding to an inquiry from an individual who's not a member of a state or local public body, or posing a question for later discussion by the public body, those items are generally not considered a meeting within the purpose of the open meeting session. Now, this goes along with, well, and then it defines merits or substance means any discussion, debate, or exchange of ideas, either generally or specifically related to the essence of any public policy proposition, specific proposal, or any other matter being considered by the governing entity. Where this gets us is this has been somewhat consistent with, I think, the advice staff has been giving council in the past, that you can't debate an issue, you can't talk about pending legislation. Well, I think we should pass this ordinance because, or I think we should adopt this policy because, or whatever. I think perhaps the easiest way for me to understand it, and I hope it helps you, is when you look at the who, what, when, where, why, how questions, council can now amongst themselves and with some others discuss the who, the what, the when, and the where, but you probably still can't discuss the why or the how. Now, it's also going to be interpreted. There's going to be some court cases, and we're going to get further information, and we can keep you updated. But I think this is a big step forward in that it is putting down on paper in the red book, as I call it, what is allowed, and granting you some more comfort in being able to discuss things, at least about setting things up for discussion, directing staff. Somebody sends you some information you want to share with the other council members. It looks like you can do that right now. Information without comment. I think if you, maybe another way to explain it is you go, hey, I think we should put on the agenda a vote on whatever topic, and somebody comes back and says, well, why? I don't think the answer to the why question is appropriate. I think it is appropriate to say, let's put it on the agenda and see where it goes. Because you would be getting close to talking about the merits if you gave the reasons why you felt it was appropriate. It would be a very factual determination on a case-by-case basis. But this is in advance, this is moving forward, it's giving you some latitude, so I think it's a welcome change. If there's any questions. And this is recently going into effect 12/01 on the day following the expiration of the 90-day period after final adjournment of the General Assembly. So, we're
Thank you,
there.
Mr. Green. Any other questions or comments?
My only question is what day it takes effect. It sounds like that isn't, like it is not quite in effect yet.
There is also a thing about a referendum in here, and I will get that information to you, but it doesn't have a date specified in the statute. I almost called it an ordinance. But I'll get something more definite to you. But that is the applicable effective date, subject to petition.
Thank you.
It's sort of, to me, it seems like it's one of those things that just because you can doesn't mean you should, and it might be something that is easy to cross a line. I would prefer that discussions remain here in council chambers or an executive session if it fits under that category.
I agree with you, Matt.
Any other comments or questions?
And as always, I'm available to answer questions, or if you have a situation you want to discuss, please don't hesitate to call or email or whatever.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Okay. City manager report.
Mayor and council, my report for this week, the top 3 items that we've been working on, and I can't say budget enough, but that's been the main thing we've been working on over the last 2 weeks. For the bulk of the last week, we met with departments and engaged in the budget preparation process in anticipation of presenting to council this coming Saturday, the 18th. That is a posted meeting that the public is invited to attend. We're looking forward to attaining input from the council and work our way further through the process. I'd like to remind the community that there is still time to make comments on what they think our spending priorities should be by visiting www.cleargov.com. Item number 2, I need to report to the council that our municipal judge, Judge Shaner, has announced his retirement, and that'll be effective at the end of October. I wish to thank Judge Shaner for his many years of service to our community. With that being said, although we cannot fully replace Judge Shaner, we will begin the process to try and find a suitable replacement in the very near future. Also, just for everybody's information, council members Yazzie, Medina, and Dobry, as well as myself, will be traveling to the Denver area next week to attend the Colorado Municipal League conference, and there's some really good training and information that I'm excited that we'll be able to bring back to the city. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager. Next item, City Council committee reports. Are there any committee reports from council?
I have a report on the Cultural Center progress. The gallery, the co-op gallery that they have in the works, is coming along quite well. Unfortunately, there was a vandal attack on the picnic tables this last week, and so that created somewhat of a setback. But anyway, there have been some volunteers that have come down and repaired those tables, and things are going well.
Okay. Any other committee reports? Okay. Mayor's report on the workshop. We met today at 6:30 p.m. We had an update on traffic and parking by Public Works Director Phil Johnson, and we had a presentation by Gwen Lacault on a 30-30 initiative, America the Beautiful. And then we had general council discussion. And are there any other board reports? See none, I call this meeting adjourned. Good evening, folks. Thank you for attending. Is that enough, Orly?